Welcome to Northwest Favorites, the heart of Portland wrestling. I'm your host, Frank Culbertson, and this series shines a spotlight on the wrestlers who weren't the long-term superstars, but were far more than the preliminary talent. These were the names right under the top tier. They were the dependable main eventers and semi-main event villains, the beloved babyfaces, and the unforgettable characters who gave Portland wrestling its personality. Every story you hear comes from the Encyclopedia of Portland Wrestlers by historian Mike Rogers. It's available now on Amazon, and it's the definitive historical record of the Pacific Northwest Territory. Today, we look at three powerful and very different names in Portland history: Johnny Eagles, Mad Dog and Butcher Vachon, and Mr. Fuji. Three styles, three legacies, and three wrestlers who helped shape an era in uniquely memorable ways. When Johnny Eagles walked into the Northwest in 1975, he already had over a decade of experience, and you could see every minute of it the second he stepped into the ring. Brought in with the help of Norman Charles III, Eagles debuted against him and immediately stood out. Not just because of the tattoos, and in the mid-70s, a chest tattoo of a giant eagle was still fairly uncommon, but because of how he wrestled. Johnny Eagles brought a pure English grappling style that Portland fans had rarely seen. He was smooth, technical, and downright tricky. His nickname was the Houdini of Wrestling, a perfect fit because he could wrestle out of holds in ways that looked impossible. If Zack Sabre Jr. had a gentler, old-school predecessor, Johnny Eagles was it. And he wasn't just a prelim attraction. Eagles had a surprising number of main events, scoring single wins over Johnny Boyd, Norman Charles, the Masked Mauler Greg Valentine, and even a young bruiser Bob Remus, the future Sergeant Slaughter. Fans loved him, and the wrestlers respected him. Eagles shined in tag team action as well, partnering with Dutch Savage, Jimmy Snuka, and Jeff Ports, all top names of that era. Despite his popularity and semi-main event status, he never held a title in the Northwest, one of those classic Portland quirks. Johnny Eagles wrestled here off and on until 1981, before stepping into announcing. He passed away in 1999 at the age of 65, but he left behind a unique footprint, the technical wizard, hidden in plain sight. The Vachon brothers were already world-traveled, battle-hardened stars when they came to the Northwest, and their brief but violent Portland stays perfectly fit their reputations. In 1971, Mad Dog and Butcher Vachon arrived as the reigning AWA World Tag Team Champions, defending the belt against the Von Steiger brothers on February 23rd. In a surprise that was only recognized locally, the Von Steigers actually beat the Vachons for the titles. After a tour of Japan, the Vachons returned and reclaimed the belts, though oddly, the win is listed as a DQ victory, something rarely seen for a title change. Their battles with the Von Steigers continued as the Vachons challenged for the Northwest tag titles, going to more DQ finishes before Butcher took a singles loss to Lonnie Mayne and Eugene. Butcher Vachon, despite his size and look, never quite reached the superstardom of his brother, something fans and historians still debate. Mad Dog returned in 1974 during a downtime in the territory when Dutch Savage was wrestling in Japan. He reignited his feud with Kurt Von Steiger and even earned a shot at Jack Briscoe. And in 1975, Mad Dog returned again, this time teaming with Siegfried Stonke in a wild, chaotic feud with the Kangaroos. Stonke remembered it vividly. Mad Dog pranced around the dressing room growling. Before we even got into the ring, he charged across the room and hit me with a forearm. I hit him back. We did this 2 or 3 times and then charged to the ring. The match went everywhere, into the crowd, through garbage cans, chairs flying. I don't remember any wrestling holds being used. Well, that was Mad Dog Vachon. Intensity before intensity was cool. He even once teamed with Bull Ramos and a young Jesse Ventura against Savage, Snuka, and Johnny Eagles. The Vachons weren't here long, but they were unforgettable. Few wrestlers from the Portland era are remembered as vividly or as fondly as Mr. Fuji. Fuji started in Hawaii in the early 60s as Harry Fujiwara. By 1966, he had made his way to the Northwest as the Great Fuji, quickly established himself with wins over Paul Diamond, Jerry Miller, Pepper Martin, and others. His early run saw him team with Haru Sasaki, capturing the Northwest Tag Team titles. He later teamed with Tony Bourne, and in an especially interesting result, Fuji and Bourne defeated Ripper Collins and Pat Patterson. But Fuji's biggest impact came in 1970 when he returned for his most memorable run. Fuji and Haru feuded with the Claw and Beauregard, but things really heated up when Fuji challenged Lonnie Mayne for the Northwest Heavyweight Championship and won. In one famous match, Fuji used what Frank Bottoма called karate kicks. Technically illegal under Portland's judo is legal, karate is not storyline. Mayne juiced heavily and the feud exploded. Fuji popped in and out of the territory in short bursts afterward, including a 1976 stint where he teamed with Yasu Fuji and wrestled Jimmy Snuka to a draw. Nationally, Fuji would become a 5-time WWF Tag Team Champion, but also became wrestling's most notorious ribber. Not harmless ribs, the stiff kind. Fred Blassie wrote that Fuji would overhear wrestlers making plane reservations and then call the airline to cancel them. Wrestlers missed bookings, lost money, and Fuji thought it was hilarious. Later, Fuji transitioned into managing in the WWF. He wasn't the best bump taker or heat magnet as a manager, but his presence, his history, and his loyalty kept him in a prominent role. He eventually settled in Knoxville, Tennessee, ran a dojo, worked as a movie theater usher, and passed away in 2016. Mr. Fuji's impact on Portland and wrestling as a whole is legendary. 3 very different careers, but 3 undeniable forces in the identity of Portland wrestling. Johnny Eagles, the technical Houdini whose unique style and quiet excellence made every match a puzzle. The Vachons, violent and unpredictable bulldozers whose chaos left dents in arenas and memories in fans. And Mr. Fuji, the cunning, dangerous tactician whose presence shaped 2 eras as both wrestler and manager. Together, they represent what this series celebrates, the wrestlers who made Portland wrestling feel alive. This has been episode 11 of Northwest Favorites, the heart of Portland wrestling. It's about the fan favorites and fierce rivals who defined an era. This series is based on the Encyclopedia of Portland Wrestlers by historian Mike Rogers and available now on Amazon. I'm your host, Frank Culbertson, and thanks for joining us. Be sure to follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and join me next Friday as we continue honoring the legends who made the Northwest one of wrestling's most memorable territories.